They are the entertainment industry's acknowledged top couple, but despite being married for 2 years, they have never met in person. They have never worked together or appeared in the same frame in any film or television project, each busy with their own schedules. This always becomes a major issue for Wenli whenever she attends an event, as every host brings up her husband, Song Yang, as a topic, leading to her always responding awkwardly. Today, she received another invitation to participate in a couple's show. As a top trending actress in the entertainment industry, Wenli wore a stunning purple glass dress that accentuated her figure perfectly. While walking down the red carpet, her arch-nemesis, Jing Xuexuan, mocked her, saying everyone in the circle knows they are just a contract couple, so does she really want to shamelessly go and perform solo? Not wanting to back down in front of her rival, Wenli gritted her teeth and insisted she would go. On the other side, at Hangjian World Studios, the superstar Song Yang had just finished a stunning explosion scene. After the director called cut, he habitually put on his wedding ring and looked at the trending topics about his wife, Wenli, on his phone. He greeted everyone, saying he needed to head home. The director asked if something was wrong at home, and Song Yang replied that if he didn't go back, his wife might run away. Everyone realizes a dose of sweet romance from him. Wenli, having just finished an event, slumped in her car. The online buzz for them to join the couple's show was overwhelming, but knowing the state of her marriage, she felt trapped. Back home, exhausted, Wenli took off her high heels and her tight-fitting dress, finally able to breathe freely. She planned to enjoy a nice hot bath, but as soon as she opened the door, unaware that there was already a man inside. She heard a familiar gentle voice, "You're back." Wenli was startled, wondering why he was back home. She walked stark naked right in front of Song Yang. A woman can be glamorous and enchanting outside, but at home, the most relaxing moment is when she takes off her high heels, her evening gown, and all her clothes, lounging comfortably on the sofa. It was only then that Song Yang turned to look at her, and what he saw was quite the sight, Wenli's curvy figure and fair, flawless skin. Song Yang was clearly stunned by the sight, staring at her body for a long time. Snapping back to reality, he pretended to cover his eyes with a piece of paper, then a loud "oh" startled Wenli into a daze. They locked eyes, Wenli instinctively covering her vital parts with her hands, blushing and wishing she could disappear, and her exclamation nearly shook the entire neighborhood. She asked in horror, "Why are you suddenly back home?" Then she turned to flee, but Song Yang had already stood up and grabbed her hand, with a teasing expression, said, "Looks like I came back at just the right time," and then pulled Wenli's arm to wrap a blanket around her naked body. Wenli's face showed a mix of shyness and anger. "Aren't you filming?" "Wrapped up already?" she asked. "Filming? Didn't you take time off?" Song Yang replied, cornering her against the wall, "Is it that surprising for me to visit my own home?" He then moved his face closer. "Although it's not the most romantic time to ask, Ms. Wen, our contract isn't up yet, so shouldn't we be doing some things that couples do?" She stood naked in front of her contract husband, feeling completely exposed. "No, please," she protested. "We're fake, right?" Seeing Wenli, who looked both guilty and irresistibly charming, Song Yang wanted to clear things up. As he slowly approached her and was about to take further action, they both froze at the sound of a stomach growling. Wenli, covering her flushed face, quickly explained that she hadn't eaten properly for days because of the red carpet events. She then dashed to the bathroom, saying, "I'll take a bath first." With a bang, the bathroom door closed, and the sound of running water soon followed. Wenli was also contemplating how to talk to Song Yang, but tonight's series of events led her to impulsively agree to join the couple's reality show, With You. She was driven by her rivalry with Jing Xuexuan, the support and expectations of numerous fans, and the rampant rumors in the entertainment industry suggesting they were only a couple by contract. These rumors stemmed from their lack of joint film projects, absence from variety shows together, and even rare social media interactions. The key point in these rumors was true. While Wenli was seductive and charming outside, she was pure and shy at home. At that moment, Song Yang, the film emperor, was eagerly browsing today's trending topics, all about Wenli's stunning looks. Each of her expressions tugged at his heart, and he was fervently liking every post about her. After her shower, Wen Li, with her wet hair making her look even more innocent, saw Song Yang approaching her step by step. She backed away, wondering what he wanted. Song Yang simply reached for a towel to dry her wet hair. Wen Li, embarrassed and blushing, realized she had overthought things. Song Yang then asked, "Ms. Wen, I heard you want to join with you. How about we delay the divorce?" Wen Li, sighing as she remembered the main issue, asked, "Am I causing trouble for you?" Just as she was about to say she would get the PR team to clarify things, Song Yang interrupted her intentionally. Wen Li questioned, "Did your team contact mine?" Song Yang's response lifted the gloom of the night for Wen Li. She then asked, "Mr. Song, can I ask why?" Turning around, Song Yang, in a serious tone, joked, "Who would turn down money?" Following behind, Wen Li felt a burst of joy inside and said, "Actually, that agreement was just a draft. If you want to delay, let's delay it." "Oh, Mr. Song, let's talk some more." She had no idea how tempting she looked to Song Yang at that moment, who couldn't hear any word she was saying because he had been holding back for so long. Song Yang wrapped one arm around her waist, the other hand gliding up her neck, hugging her shoulders, and then kissed her cherry-like lips. What followed was an indescribable moment. The next morning, Wen Li woke up to see Song Yang standing on the balcony. Even though they were contract spouses, the agreement didn't state they couldn't sleep together. Recalling the passionate night before, she thought, who could resist someone as handsome and gentle as Song Yang? Lazily lying in bed, Wen Li picked up her phone and informed her manager, Dan Jie, about joining with you with Song Yang. Dan Jie, excited, seemed ready to leap through the screen to hug her. She said that yesterday, Jing Shui had even tried to spread rumors, sarcastically claiming Song Yang would never go with her. Now, they didn't need to hire any publicity, they could just wait for the official announcement and enjoy the show. Thinking of Jing Shui, Wen Li recalled their rivalry. There were only a few top actresses in the film industry, and open or secret competition was common. She and Zhang Shui never hid their animosity, as their feud had become public. The catalyst for their conflict was Zhang Shui's husband, Lu Ming. 2 years ago, when Li and Lu Ming worked together on an idol drama. To promote the show, the film company hyped them as an on-screen couple, and the drama became a hit. Just as the promotional period ended and they were about to dissolve the on-screen pairing, Zhang Shui and Lu Ming made their relationship official, causing an uproar. When Li was thrust into the spotlight, accused of knowingly being the third wheel in their relationship, leading to a wave of online slander and criticism. When Li became a hot topic in the entertainment world until the White Moonlight Song Yang appeared. Their rapid public announcement of their relationship diverted the negative attention. When Li was grateful for Song Yang's timely intervention, but she also wondered why he had helped her back then. However, when Li had never asked Mr. Song why he helped her back then. Turning to look at Song Yang, who was staring back at her, he smiled slightly. When Li realized she was disheveled and quickly started to fix her clothes. To Song Yang, she looked like a kitten waiting to be petted. Over at the With You production team, Zheng Shui's manager slammed the table, asking, "Who did you give the endorsement to?" The production team replied cautiously, saying the endorsement was given to the audience's top picks, Wen Li and Song Yang. Zheng Shui was stunned. How is this possible? Wen Li knew Lu Ming and I were participating. Furious, she immediately called Lu Ming and sarcastically said, "Honey, your charm is truly great." After making Wen Li the target of hate for months, now she's eager to join the show and cling to you. Lu Ming finally understood and asked if Wen Li was really joining the show. Zheng Shui, even angrier, replied, "Lu Ming, you better cooperate during the filming. If people realize you didn't want to dissolve the on-screen pairing back then, wanting to turn the fake romance real, you'll be crucified." Not wanting to argue, Lu Ming just said he understood and hung up. Deng Shui walked to the window, trying to calm her anger, only to see a huge advertisement featuring Wen Li's jewelry endorsement. Seeing the massive poster made her feel enveloped by it. "Wen Li, how can you not only attract Lu Ming but also win Song Yang's favor?" she muttered bitterly. Despite everything, Wen Li and Song Yang decided to continue their contractual relationship and join the couple's reality show. Soon after, the officials with social media account released promotional photos of the couple, causing fans to express their excitement, saying it was even better than the new year. Wenli also liked the promotional photos. Her assistant reminded her, "Sister Lee, the production team will start filming today. They've already set up cameras at home." Looking at her perfect face in the mirror, Wenli absent-mindedly replied, "Got it." Before long, the production team started filming. Wenli greeted everyone cheerfully in front of the camera. Just then, her assistant handed her a work meal. Wenli, who had been full of anticipation, opened the food box, and her face fell immediately. It was all greens. Was this for a little rabbit? Seeing Wenli's sudden change of expression, director Xue asked, "Ms. Wen, are you reminiscing about old times?" Wenli retorted, "Who would miss those?" Her assistant coughed pointedly, reminding Wenli that they were recording a show. Quickly correcting herself, Wenli added, "Not entirely, maybe a little bit." Director Xie continued, "So, Ms. Wen, the theme for our first episode is a surprise. What kind of surprise would you like?" Wenli paused, holding her chopsticks. A surprise? Given their contractual relationship, it wasn't appropriate to have high expectations. "What kind of surprise would you like?" Wenli repeated, "Being alive is a surprise, making the world go quiet again." Wenli wondered if she sounded insincere, but seeing the director and assistant's envious faces, they exclaimed, "Ms. Wen, you sure know how to say the sweetest things." Wenli felt baffled. The official with you account posted, "Being alive is the greatest surprise," immediately trending on Weibo. Wenli smirked, thinking it was a beautiful misunderstanding. Her assistant cheered her on, "No wonder you're the best, Sister Lee. One line and you've overshadowed their paid trending topics." But then, worried about the live broadcast tomorrow, the assistant reminded her that it would be awkward if Mr. Song wasn't there. Wenli agreed, feeling stressed. As Wenli walked out of the elevator, her assistant reminded her about the cameras at home. Wenli, preoccupied with the live broadcast, thought Mr. Song had to be there before it ended to save the situation. Lost in thought, Wenli opened the door, only to find Song Yang about to leave with his suitcase. Snatching it from him, she angrily asked, "Mr. Song, are you really planning to leave me to do the live broadcast alone tomorrow night?" Song Yang apologized, explaining that he had a last-minute appointment and really couldn't make it back in time. Wenli kept a smile on her face, but internally, she had already cursed Song Yang 1,000 times. The cameras captured the tense moment between them, and the director, watching the scene, worried that the theme of the first episode, surprise, might turn into a shock. To ease the awkwardness, Song Yang softly suggested that he might be able to make it back if Wenli acted cute. Hearing that there was room for negotiation, Wenli looked at Song Yang with renewed hope. Song Yang continued, saying that all Wenli needed to do was to act cute for him. Wenli's face turned bright red in an instant. How could he propose such a condition? Just as the director thought the situation was improving, a loud bang was heard as the suitcase hit the floor. Wenli, her face flushed, shouted, "Don't even think about it." Fans had come up with all sorts of creative usernames to support Wenli, but only one name could make their favorite star blush so deeply. Wenli was about to face the live broadcast of their couple's show debut alone. She reassured herself, "I can do this without a man." She adjusted her mindset and switched into live broadcast mode. As soon as she went live, more than 400,000 viewers flooded into the stream, and Wenli greeted everyone sweetly. Wanting to see the audience's real-time interactions during her first live broadcast, Wenli's big, sparkling eyes constantly moved closer to the screen. Her flawless, fair skin and delicate face made viewers' hearts skip a beat. She was so beautiful that the comment section exploded, with one viewer even exclaiming, "Mom, this woman is killing me with her looks." Startled, Wenli waved her hands and stepped back. Her manager, Sister Dan, sent her a WeChat message, "Remember to thank the fans for their gifts." Wenli eagerly thanked everyone, jokingly responding, "Thank you, 3 lilies, I'm Mom's good baby, for the 100 submarines." "Thank you, Mom, I have enough money, no need to spend more." "Thanks." Then she said, "I'm not pretending anymore, I'm coming clean. I'm the one who received 50 skyscrapers from Mikasa's real husband. Taking any more is illegal, you know." Unable to resist the enthusiasm of her strict fans, the playful and adorable interaction led to even more gifts and comments. Suddenly, Wenli froze, stopped talking, and her face turned redder and redder. The fans thought their connection was lagging until they saw a fan named Mikasa Beauty all night long constantly sending gifts. The lively fan interactions continued, and someone joked, "Mikasa, you're blushing. This name is just perfect." With her hands on her slim waist, Wenli puffed up and said angrily, "Stop sending gifts. Even if you go broke sending them, I won't thank you anymore." Just then, another WeChat message from Sister Dan popped up, "You're trending at the top again." The live broadcast of Wenli, the popular actress, turned into a massive online party with music and fans joining in a dance party vibe. Wenli's live debut was still going strong. To support her, Song Yang cut his trip short. As soon as he got off the plane, he saw a trending topic on Weibo titled, "Strict Plastic Couple Show," mocking their couple show as a solo performance and questioning Wenli's authenticity, even suggesting she bought her way to the top trending spot. Song Yang quickly commented, "I'm on my way home to face Wenli's critique." Meanwhile, Wenli started removing her makeup live. Since her eye makeup was hard to remove and needed some time, she asked Xiaodu to play some upbeat music to keep the stream lively. The upbeat song really set the mood, and the music made Wenli shiver with excitement. She closed her eyes and started swaying to the rhythm, thinking about Song Yang enjoying himself somewhere. Feeling a bit tipsy, she let herself go. Song Yang opened the door, intending to surprise Wenli, but the living room was empty. Instead, rock music was blasting from the bedroom. He followed the sound and pushed open the bedroom door, where he froze in his tracks, seeing Wenli completely absorbed in her dancing. Fans in the live stream flooded the chat with, "Wenli, wake up. Your handsome husband has been standing at the door smiling for half a minute." Leaning stylishly against the doorframe, Song Yang watched Wenli's dance. When she finally removed her eye makeup and looked at the screen, her pupils dilated. She turned to the door and froze, seeing Song Yang staring at her. Shocked, she blurted out, when did you get back?" The live broadcast ended, and the trending topics were dominated by this couple's cute gesture, taking over the top 5 spots. At this moment, Wenli curled up like an ostrich, reflecting on her out-of-control dance moves, unsure how to face Song Yang. Song Yang, amused, thought, wasn't she lively and adorable just a moment ago? He approached her gently and said, "Let's go to bed." But Wenli didn't open her eyes to look at him. She turned away and said sulkily, "I'll sleep here tonight." Song Yang sat next to her and asked softly, "Did you get tired from dancing too long?" Wenli felt mocked and shouted, "You." Song Yang replied calmly, "Me? What about me? Why? Are you upset that I came back?" Wenli blushed and shouted, "Am I upset because you came back? I'm upset because you didn't tell me in advance, which made me look so embarrassing." Song Yang was puzzled. "You don't worry about embarrassment in front of millions of viewers, so why do you have a different standard for me?" Wenli paused, realizing, is that so? Then I guess I am being double standard. Song Yang nodded earnestly. Wenli gathered her thoughts and, while fiddling with her phone, asked, "Mr. Song, weren't you busy with your schedule? Why did you come back?" She added, "I could handle it on my own." Song Yang replied, "Yes, with just your own efforts, you took over 5 trending spots. Miss Wen, you're impressive." Wenli, enjoying the compliment, responded, "You know that, so why did you dare to come back?" Song Yang looked slightly disappointed. "Don't you want me to come back?" Wenli felt guilty but stubbornly turned away. "If you're busy, just go be busy. I can handle it myself." Song Yang sighed and fell silent, making the room quiet. After waiting for a while without hearing Song Yang speak, Wenli turned around and asked, "Are you asleep?" Unexpectedly, Song Yang was so close to her that their eyes met. The key point was that Song Yang was incredibly handsome. Aloof, proud, coldly elegant and noble, with a beautiful face, clear pupils, a soft and furry body, and a cute meowing voice. In Song Yang's eyes, Wenli was just like a little kitten. The dim lighting made Wenli feel like she was getting lost in his deep eyes again. Her face turned red, and she shyly pulled the quilt over her head, quickly turning around. She asked, "If you're not asleep, why didn't you say anything?" Song Yang looked at her back and said, "I was thinking about something." Wenli was like a little kitten, aloof, proud, coldly elegant, and noble. Creatures like this, once they lower their guard and snuggle into a human's arms, with just one meow and a little rub, make humans lose all their defenses. Wenli waited a while longer and, seeing he still didn't speak, asked, "What are you thinking about?" Song Yang said, "Do you know why dogs are closer to humans, but so many people still prefer cats?" Wenli didn't get what Song Yang was implying and said warily, "Are you thinking of getting a cat?" "No way, cat hair will fly everywhere." Song Yang gently twirled her hair around his fingers and said softly, "With so much hair in the bathroom, you have the nerve to talk about cats shedding." Wenli immediately jumped up like a cat whose fur had been ruffled, angrily shouting, "Are you implying that I'm going bald?" The atmosphere suddenly became extremely awkward. The next day, Director Gui organized a banquet at a club to entertain Director Yu and Song Yang. Director Yu had made Song Yang famous with a film. To Song Yang, he was both a benefactor and a mentor. Director Gui had asked Director Yu to introduce Song Yang, and through Song Yang, he met Bai Shi from Dishidao. This event was to thank Song Yang for the introduction. Bai Shi invested 200 million in Director Gui's film. Song Yang didn't dare to take credit, it was Mr. Bai's decision. Director Gui enthusiastically invited Song Yang to play a role in a major Immortal Sword IP project, but Song Yang politely declined, saying he wasn't good at emotional scenes and didn't want to ruin a good script. Director Yu, unwilling to give up, said, "Then your wife should be a good fit, right? Isn't she experienced in acting in idol dramas?" Song Yang replied, "If Director Gui thinks she is suitable, you can contact her agent. But if it's because of me, then there's no need." On the way home, Song Yang thought about Wenli. She didn't like bothering me and didn't want to have anything to do with me. Opening the door, Song Yang saw Wenli, with light makeup and cute loungewear, looking pure and sweet. She greeted him softly and cheerfully, sweetly saying, "You're back. I got your slippers." Song Yang was shocked. He had never seen Wenli this gentle before. "Did I enter the wrong house?" Something must be up then. He caught a glimpse of the camera behind the vase. By this time, Wenli had neatly placed the slippers in front of Song Yang. Song Yang picked up the slippers cautiously, dodging a bit, while Wenli squatted there, dumbly asking, "What are you doing?" Feeling guilty, Song Yang said it was nothing but thought to himself, "Are there needles hidden in these? I better check thoroughly." This scene made the director behind the camera laugh until his stomach hurt. There's always something strange when things seem abnormal. Song Yang is worried that Wenli might harm him. Wenli didn't notice anything and got up, forcibly pulling Song Yang to sit on the sofa. She tenderly said, "Honey, you've worked hard," with a service smile, then gently started massaging his shoulders, even leaning close to his ear and asking, "Is the pressure okay?" This made Song Yang blush and fidget, lightly holding Wenli's restless hands, saying, "No need, I'll rest in my room for a bit." Before Wenli could answer, he had already disappeared in a flash, leaving only the sound of the door closing with a bang. Once in his room, Song Yang finally let out a full breath. Such unusual tenderness from Wenli was really overwhelming. Not knowing what went wrong, Wenli looked at the camera for help and said, "He doesn't appreciate it, I can't do this." The director's team responded to Wenli's plea, "Miss Wen, this isn't really acting cute." Wenli was confused. "This doesn't count as acting cute. Do I have to make baby noises to count?" The usually feisty little wildcat suddenly became a cute little vixen, whining and acting coy. Wenli pouted at the camera and said, "Brother, wah wah wah." The director's team, who had just taken a sip of water, spat it out and nodded vigorously. Wenli rolled her eyes and said she couldn't do it. The director's team earnestly suggested, "Why not take a look at Miss Zheng's footage for reference?" As soon as Zheng Shui was mentioned, Wenli's competitive spirit flared up. She couldn't afford to lose. The director's team added, maybe Mr. Song is just feeling shy. You could tell him the camera is off. Wen-li found this difficult but sighed and said, I'll try again. She then carried a plate of fruit into the room, pretending to turn off the camera. Song Yang asked, why did you turn off the camera? Wen-li, feeling guilty, replied, it can't stay on all the time, and it's getting late. Wen-li brought her delicate face closer and softly asked, Mr. Song, would you like some fruit? Song Yang, still on guard, thanked her and reached for the fruit. But Wen-li moved the plate behind her, picked up a piece, and teasingly brought it to Song Yang's lips, saying, I'll feed you. She unknowingly brushed her hand against Song Yang's lips, inadvertently stirring something in Song Yang. As Song Yang touched his lips, wondering what Wen-li was up to, she suddenly heard Wen-li say, all right, now it's your turn to feed me. Mechanically, Song Yang picked up a piece of fruit and put it in Wen-li's mouth. Wen-li, delighted, said, it's sweeter when fed by you, brother. The director's team was in stitches at Wen-li's antics, while Song Yang felt a headache coming on and asked, what did you call me? Wen-li thought, don't people usually call someone a brother when acting cute? Why does he seem to dislike it? Wen-li then asked, or do you prefer me calling you husband? Song Yang, trying to steady his emotions, replied, say it again, then. Wen-li, oblivious to Song Yang's reaction, snuggled into his arms, saying coyly, brother, husband, I want another grape. Song Yang's throat moved slightly, emotion spreading, and the fruit plate fell to the floor. He pinned Wen-li to the bed, both of them now in a difficult yoga pose. Song Yang, face to face with Wen-li, asked nervously, what exactly are you trying to do? Wen-li, snuggling into Song Yang's arms and acting cute, didn't sense the impending danger. Facing the close proximity and feeling Song Yang's breath filled with emotion, Wen-li involuntarily swallowed. Song Yang, struggling to control himself, his voice slightly hoarse, asked, you little tease, you turned off the camera and now you're flirting with me. What are you really trying to do? Wen-li, blushing, stammered, I just wanted to eat a grape. Song Yang, not listening to her explanation, said, I think you're just asking for trouble. Song Yang placed one hand on Wen-li's long leg and the other restrained her restless hand. Then, he lifted Wen-li's chin with one hand, making Wen-li's heart race. Wen-li urgently reminded, the camera isn't off, Mr. Song, calm down. Song Yang immediately stopped, looking at Wen-li with confusion. Wen-li, equally at a loss, wondered what went wrong, covering her face with her hand in embarrassment, and said, please get up first. At this moment, the production team remotely turned off the camera. The upcoming restricted footage wasn't for public viewing, but this explosive preview could soon be released. Wen-li reminded herself that the last two words Mr. Song must be muted to pass the Broadcast Bureau's review. Before Song Yang could speak, Wen-li explained, the production team has a script, they said there was a camera, and I was afraid you wouldn't respond well, so I just... Song Yang sighed, thinking, Miss Wen is so dense, she should have given me a heads up. Wen-li, like a child who had made a mistake, looked up at Song Yang, stubbornly thinking, this was all arranged by the production team, it's not my fault. Song Yang sighed helplessly, thinking, oh well, who made me like her anyway? Wen-li, seeing that Song Yang didn't respond, moved her beautiful face closer and asked, Mr. Song, are you okay? Remembering her earlier emotional outburst, Song Yang, though annoyed, still gently pushed Wen-li's head away and exclaimed, what do you mean, okay? After the little troublemaker caused problems with the camera, she blamed everything on the production team. Fans became intensely curious about the edited and muted parts. Watching Song Yang seriously picking up the scattered fruit, Wen-li sensed something was off and asked, are you angry? Song Yang didn't respond. Wen-li continued, I knew calling you that would gross you out. Glancing at the camera to ensure it was off, Wen-li, trying to ease the awkward situation, lazily stretched and said, I originally wanted to call you senior, but that felt too childish, so I didn't. Throwing aside the fruit, Song Yang replied, senior? That makes us closer. He stood up and warmly said, even if we're old, you're still my junior, with you around, life is good. The preview for the first episode of Strict Couples immediately caught fans' attention, with viewers demanding to restore the muted parts and see more footage. It quickly hit the top 5 trending topics. On the first day of shooting, seeing Wenli's popularity soar, Zheng Shui angrily threw her phone at Lu Ming, warning, "You better cooperate today." Lu Ming glanced at the phone and replied, "Got it." Meanwhile, in another car, Wenli told Song Yang, "Mr. Song, we're counting on you today to outshine Zheng Shui and Lu Ming. You're an award-winning actor, you can definitely do it." Seeing Wenli's dedication, Song Yang wondered if she still had feelings for her rumored boyfriend and asked, "It's been 2 years, you still haven't forgotten him?" Wenli, thinking he was referring to the time she was wrongfully accused online, painfully replied, "Of course not, how could I forget that?" Song Yang, feeling jealous, turned away. Wenli, puzzled, asked, "What's wrong?" Song Yang frowned slightly and said, "My wife treats me like a tool, I'm feeling a bit upset." Then, he turned his head to look out the window. Wenli, unhappy with his reaction, muttered under her breath, "If you don't want to help, just say so." She felt resentful inside, thinking, "You agreed so nicely before, and now you're being all sarcastic. What's your deal?" He was annoyed at how she was treated 2 years ago when she was harshly criticized online, and now he was annoyed at her for holding a grudge. She huffed and turned to look out the window as well. Song Yang sensed her anger but didn't understand why he was competing with her. He sighed and said, No, I'm not unwilling." One thought the other was still hung up on a rumored boyfriend, while the other thought he was being sarcastic and resenting her grudge. The lack of communication maxed out the anger level in the car. In the bustling night market, the two of them, still sulking, sat at separate tables. Song Yang sat with the crew, while Wenli sat with her assistant and manager. Seeing her assistant eating crayfish without a care, Wenli stared longingly, swallowing her saliva. The assistant, feeling sorry for her, offered her one and comforted, "Sister, why don't you have a bite? Just one won't hurt." Wenli's eye sparkled at the sight of the crayfish, and she pretended to be reluctant, saying, "Since you insist, I can't refuse." She didn't even use chopsticks, reaching out with her hand, about to put it in her mouth when her manager, Dan Jie, suddenly cleared her throat. Wenli's hand froze in midair. Then, Dan Jie started lecturing her, "If you eat one, there'll be a second, and then a third. With your appetite, you could easily eat 5 pounds tonight." Wenli, her desires exposed in front of everyone, felt like she was about to spit blood from frustration. She put down the crayfish as Dan Jie continued, "If you get an upset stomach tomorrow, don't come crying to me. You must go to the gym and stay there for at least 3 hours." Wenli's spirit was crushed by Dan Jie's relentless reprimands. On the other side, Song Yang was having a great time eating and chatting with the crew. He kept sneaking glances at Wenli, watching her transform from a tough girl to a little foodie, his eyes full of affection and tenderness. On the way back to the hotel, slightly tipsy and with her dramatic side taking over, Wenli started lamenting, Wen, I'm so pitiful, you have no idea." Wen asked her what was wrong, and she began to ramble, "Just think about it, I'm a top-tier celebrity, making so much money every year. I can buy anything I want, even my phone case is a limited edition, but I can't even eat a few pounds of crayfish." Wen was speechless. Sister Wen is really obsessed with those crayfish. Wenli, gritting her teeth, kept tapping on her phone angrily, "I'm 5 feet 6 inches, and I gained a few pounds over the new year, so now I weigh 96 pounds. But people online still call me fat. I ate salads for a whole month to lose the weight." With tears in her eyes, Wenli bit down on her phone, angrily saying, "They are thin, the thinnest. They probably weigh less than 20 pounds combined, even with their ashes." Wen couldn't take it anymore and shouted, "Sis, please speak civilly." Still upset about not eating the crayfish, Wenli's temper flared again when Zheng Shui came over, adding fuel to the fire. The top celebrity in the entertainment industry, a bit tipsy, praised her husband for talking less. In the hotel elevator, Wen worriedly said, "Sis, I think you need some hangover medicine." Wenli, holding onto the railing, waved her hand, "I'm not that delicate." Suddenly, the elevator doors opened, and it was Zheng Shui and Lu Ming. Seeing Wen Li alone, Zheng Shui pulled Lu Ming closer to show off their love, but Lu Ming felt awkward and said, "Let's wait for the next one." Zheng Shui wasn't happy. Why? Does she have exclusive use of this elevator? What are you afraid of? Wen Li, arms crossed, remained silent, watching the awkward scene. Eventually, the four of them reached the same floor and got off the elevator. Wen Li and Zheng Shui were on the verge of a confrontation. Unable to hold back, Zheng Shui turned and said, "Wen Li, how can you be so annoying?" Wen Li took a deep breath and asked, "You want to argue, huh?" Thinking to herself, "Great, I didn't get my crayfish, and I'm full of anger. I can't waste this opportunity." She adjusted her sunglasses and said disdainfully, "A lot of people find me annoying. Who do you think you are?" Just as Zheng Shui was about to retort, Wen Li continued, "Don't forget, I was the one voted #1 by the show's audience." With an even more arrogant attitude, she added, "If you're not as popular as me, just shut up. I haven't even bothered to give you any attention, letting you and your husband ride on my coattails." Lu Ming couldn't bear listening to the two women arguing and tried to persuade Zheng Shui, "Let's go." But Zheng Shui, her face flushed with anger, ignored him, pointed at Wen Li, and shouted, "Don't think I don't know what's going on with you and Song Yang. Everyone in the industry is aware of your scandal. You shamelessly cling to my husband, and poor Song Yang has to wear a green hat and still go on shows with you." Mentioning Song Yang, Wen Li wasn't going to hold back. Mockingly, she said, "Your husband? Those flirtatious messages he sent me, if it weren't for that CP drama, I would have blocked him ages ago. And you think you're getting something special?" Lu Ming, feeling guilty, turned his head away. Wen Li continued proudly, "My husband is 100 times better than him, more handsome, makes more money. I'm not blind, why would I let him be mistreated for someone like your husband?" Zheng Shui, hearing this mocking statement, felt as if Wen Li was implying she was blind. She glared and shouted, "Wen Li, what does Song Yang being handsome and rich have to do with you? You two aren't even a real couple." Wen Li smirked, "Who says we're not?" She stepped forward confidently and said proudly, "My husband talks less but is excellent in every way. He can keep me satisfied for 3 days straight." "Can your husband do that?" Zheng Shui and Lu Ming were stunned, their eyes widening. Wen Li was indeed bold. Before Zheng Shui could retaliate, Lu Ming dragged her away. Wen Li, feeling victorious, hummed with pride like a winning fighter jet. As she turned around with a flourish, she suddenly saw Mr. Song standing right behind her. When did he get there? Wen Li and Song Yang locked eyes, and the world around them fell silent. An awkward silence fell between them as they walked straight into the hotel room. Wen Li, trailing behind, scrutinized Song Yang's back, put on her sunglasses to hide her investigative gaze, and nervously thought, "What exactly did I just say?" She then asked, "When did you get back?" Song Yang placed the box he was carrying on the coffee table, then turned to look at Wen Li, rewinding a few minutes in her mind. Wen Li, now in Sherlock Holmes mode, seriously analyzed the situation. "He probably didn't hear what I said," she guessed, but she still wanted to confirm her suspicions. Stammering, she asked, Did you hear anything?" Activating his subtle mode, Song Yang asked, "Hear what?" But Wen Li took this as a deliberate question and, feeling embarrassed, snapped back, "The argument between me and Zheng Shui." Time seemed to stand still again as Song Yang pondered. Wen Li, like a child caught doing something wrong, lowered her head. Her sunglasses slipped off unexpectedly, and Song Yang quickly took them off her, leaning in with a light-hearted tone. "I heard," he said. Wen Li felt utterly embarrassed and wished she could disappear on the spot. In her panic, she tried to push Song Yang away, but her left foot tripped over her right. Just as she was about to fall, Song Yang grabbed her hand. The force pulled Wen Li backward, and they both tumbled onto the sofa. A sweet, ambiguous atmosphere filled the room, but Wen Li broke it with a soul-searching question, "Are you even a man?" Bemused by her words, Song Yang paused for a moment. Wen Li, attempting to shift the blame, criticized him, "You have no gentlemanly manners. Even if you heard it, you should have said you didn't." Standing up helplessly, Song Yang said, "I really can't win with you." Covering her blushing face with her hands and thinking about how to continue diverting blame, Wenli then heard Song Yang gently say, "I got you some takeout crayfish. Come and eat." Wenli's eyes sparkled with delight when she saw the crayfish. She pointed at them and then eagerly began to feast on her long-awaited treat. Her eyes casually glanced at the takeout note, less spicy, less oil, and includes hangover medicine. She felt a warm sense of gratitude, thinking, Mr. Song is really thoughtful. Pushing the bowl of peeled crayfish towards Song Yang, Wenli said, "I can't eat too much. If we don't finish it, it'll be wasted." She immediately felt awkward at the possibility of Song Yang refusing, so she quickly added, "If you don't want to eat, that's fine." Song Yang, seeing Wenli's awkwardness, picked up a peeled crayfish and ate it, asking with a puzzled look, "What's your mouth made of? Why is it so hard to please?" Later that night, in the bedroom, Wenli pretended to sleep with her eyes closed. After finishing his bedtime routine, Song Yang gently got into bed, leaned close to Wenli's ear, and asked seductively, "Want to see if you can stay in bed for 3 days?" Wenli instantly turned into a shy kitten, curling up with nowhere to hide. She covered her blushing face with a pillow and mumbled, "I was just teasing Beng Shui. Do you really think you're that great?" Song Yang teased back, 3 days might be too much, but 1 day is doable. Wenli, not falling for it, retorted, "Get lost." Song Yang lovingly patted her head and said, "I was worried you'd feel sad seeing them together, but I guess I underestimated you." Wenli, not fully understanding, turned around and asked, "Why would I be sad?" Seeing her genuine confusion, Song Yang asked, "Didn't you like Lu Ming?" Supporting her chin with her hand, Wenli replied, "Who said I liked him? Whoever started that rumor, I'll send them a lawyer's letter tomorrow." Song Yang, still puzzled, asked, "So you don't like him? Then why were you crying so hard in the dressing room 2 years ago?" The famous couple continued their playful debate about trying to stay in bed for 3 days, and the 2-year-old misunderstanding was resolved in Wenli's unique way. Still curious, Song Yang asked again, "Why were you crying so much in the dressing room 2 years ago?" Wenli, avoiding eye contact, answered, "Who didn't have a fragile heart when they were young?" Song Yang tried to understand her words, "So you did like him before. If you don't have feelings for him now, it's okay to admit it. It's all in the past." Wenli, flustered, responded, "If you don't understand, don't make wild guesses. That's not what I meant at all. And it's not like I didn't like him." Seeing her anxious expression, Song Yang felt she might not have gotten over Lu Ming and didn't want to continue the topic. He sighed, tucked her in, and said helplessly, "Go to sleep. We have to get up early tomorrow." He turned around, said good night, and switched off the bedside lamp. Watching Song Yang's dejected figure, Wenli's inner turmoil grew. Finally, with a determined look, she climbed on top of Song Yang. Song Yang, who wasn't really asleep, was startled by her sudden move and opened his eyes wide, wondering what this little kitten was up to now. Wenli, with a fierce look, shouted, "I cried out of anger. Those were tears of rage." She started recounting the past indignantly. Back then, the crew and Sister Dan repeatedly confirmed with that jerk, but even though he had a girlfriend, he still paired up with me for publicity. Because of him, I was viciously attacked online. Her round eyes filled with fury as she continued, "If Sister Dan hadn't advised me to bear with it for my career, I would have beaten him to a pulp." Turning to Song Yang, she asked, "You don't believe me either, do you?" Song Yang, seeing her hopeful eyes, gently moved closer and said, "No, I believe you." Wenli could feel his warm breath. Embarrassed, she slowly backed away, but with a sudden she fell to the floor with a loud thud. Song Yang quickly turned on the lamp to check on her, only to see Wenli sprawled out on the ground. Initially startled, he burst into laughter 3 seconds later. The fierce little kitten Wenli was now angrily puffed up again, shouting, "What's so funny?" Wenli had tried to explain to Song Yang that she never liked Lu Ming, but ended up with a concussion and a sore bottom. Song Yang, who had been worried about her, couldn't help but laugh at the sight of her angrily injuring herself. However, he then gently picked her up and placed her back on the bed, tenderly caring for her. Where does it hurt? Wen Li, though embarrassed by being laughed at earlier, was now blushing slightly and said irritably, "Duh, I might have a concussion." Song Yang ignored her tone and gently massaged her temples. Wen Li had also hurt her back and bottom, so she rubbed those sensitive areas herself. Song Yang asked, "Does it hurt here too?" and was about to help her. Wen Li, feeling shy, moved away and said, "I can do it myself." But Song Yang held her and teased, "Why so shy? It's not like I haven't touched you before." Wen Li leaned against his shoulder, feeling his gentle care, and said, "Don't tell anyone I cried out of anger from the online hate. If the trolls find out, they'll just mock me more." Song Yang, feeling sorry for her, asked, "Were the things they said really harsh?" Wen Li, acting tough, replied, "It's fine. I'm used to it. Besides, we have a lot of fans who love us." Seeing how strong Wen Li appeared, Song Yang hugged her tightly and said, "It's all in the past." The next day, the official recording of Having You in the World began. Several pairs of guests entered the stage one after another, holding hands, with the Song Wen couple receiving the loudest cheers. The director issued the first game instruction, "Test of tacit understanding, you act, I guess." Wen Li and Song Yang were the first pair. Wen Li made a gesture resembling ears. Song Yang guessed, "Rabbit?" Wen Li then started flapping her hands as if to fly. After thinking for a moment, Song Yang guessed, "A total failure?" The host was surprised, but Song Yang got it right, showing how smart he was. Next, Wen Li froze at the sight of the next word. Song Yang was confused and urged, "There's a time limit, hurry up and sit." Wen Li, feeling awkward, said, "Let's skip this one." The audience disagreed, shouting, "No skipping." Wen Li snapped back, "Are you playing the game or am I?" Song Yang noticed her getting upset. The audience shouted, "We want play." Song Yang smiled knowingly, "You want play?" and the audience was fully engaged, shouting, "Yes, play." Wen Li, pulling at her dress, was overwhelmed by the cheers. The show continued chaotically with Wen Li shining in every segment. The fans were thrilled by the intense atmosphere, with the couple and audience involvement leading the show in unexpected directions. Even the little sweetie showed up in the word-guessing game. Wen Li once again experienced a huge embarrassing situation, and the most critical part was that Song Yang guessed correctly, leaving Wen Li at a loss. Pretending to be angry, she said she was leaving and walked towards the backstage. Song Yang waved at the fans with a smile, but Wen Li pulled him away. The host complained to the director, "Look at the questions you made, you've upset Ms. Wen." The director didn't mind, thinking that as long as the fans enjoyed it, it was fine. The audience cheered loudly, and the host skillfully adjusted the atmosphere, saying, "Let's look forward to the next segment where we reenact classic movie scenes." Backstage in the makeup room, Wen Li was looking at the script for the next scene while getting her makeup done. She thought about how daring the writers were back in the day, always writing such dramatic scenes for the siblings. Suddenly, she noticed something off and saw there was a kissing scene. She waved the script and asked the director, "Does our script require real kissing or is it just a camera trick?" The director thought, "You're a married couple, do you really need a camera trick?" but said, "Both are fine, but I think the audience would prefer a real kiss." Wen Li replied, "Got it," but thought to herself, "There's no way I'm going to kiss for real." She went to change into the costume for the next scene. Applause and cheers erupted from the studio. People were shouting, "Absolutely beautiful! Why yes! Truly stunning!" Then there was a knock on the door, and Song Yang reminded, "Ms. Wen, it's time to go on stage." Wen Li turned and responded, "Coming." The set designed by Wu Mai was incredibly realistic, featuring a deep courtyard with archways, and two elegant characters, a warlord's young master and a cool, graceful lady. Wen Li gently bowed to Song Yang, "Big brother, how are you?" Song Yang tenderly caressed Wen Li, "Little sister, are you well?" Their every move and expression were captivating, drawing the audience in instantly. The viewers couldn't help but exclaim how beautiful the scene was, and the combination of top-tier looks and acting in the Republic of China setting was mesmerizing. The plot took a turn with a single line from the experienced variety show actress. Fans of Yang Li couldn't contain their excitement and posted about it on social media, leading to a frenzy of comments and shares. The host was worried and said, "Fans, no spoilers. Let's save some surprises for the full episode." Wen Li and Song Yang continued to play their roles earnestly. Wen Li said, "Big brother, I don't want to stay here anymore. I want to go back to our parents." As she turned to leave, her delicate wrist was firmly grabbed by Song Yang, pulling her into his embrace. "If you go back now, our parents will never let you out again," he said. Wen Li struggled, avoiding his gaze. "Then I won't come out. Staying home is fine too." Song Yang looked at her deeply, forcing her to look at him. "What about me, little sister? Are you going to leave me? Tell me, did I do something wrong?" Their tender exchange held the audience in silent captivation. Everyone was eagerly anticipating the next climactic moment. Wen Li, never one to disappoint her fans, turned and pretended to wipe away non-existent tears, thinking to herself, "This is a variety show, not a real drama. Time to lighten the mood." She blurted out, "You snore too loudly when you sleep." The host and the audience were momentarily stunned before bursting into laughter. Mikasa being Mikasa, always full of surprises, this unexpected move left Song Yang momentarily speechless. He thought, "I can guide her in acting, but in variety shows, she's definitely the senior." He took a deep breath and responded, "Well, you grind your teeth when you sleep. What about that?" Wen Li didn't expect Song Yang to keep up with her joke, and the audience erupted in cheers again. The tension reached its peak when Song Yang suddenly pinned Wen Li against the wall. The audience's anticipation was palpable. Song Yang's left arm conveniently blocked Wen Li's face as he leaned down, their noses nearly touching. Wen Li gently pushed against Song Yang's waist, whispering that the performance was over. But Song Yang didn't heed her, planting a light kiss on her lips. He then stepped back, leaving Wen Li blushing. The host gossiped, "Did you kiss?" Song Yang, savoring the moment, bit his lip and nonchalantly replied, "No, I didn't."